As the originator of the Infinite Stream novel, this 4 billion yen investment in the manga into the film, just released in the year, took the box office championship in Japan, although he was unsurprisingly still criticized by the original author. In fact, the core of the film, but far more dark and desperate than the original manga, Kurono and Kato, who were accidentally killed while saving someone's life, are chosen by a mysterious black ball to revive them in the dead space. According to the requirements of the black ball, they need to constantly assassinate the aliens hidden in the human world and complete the mission again and again before they have a chance to clear their memories and regain their lives. However, during one mission, Kato was killed by the Buddha aliens, which made Kurono desperate once again after regaining hope. When he wants to end this painful and torturous life, the confession of his classmate Takojima, who has been secretly in love with him, makes him stand up again, as completion of the mission can earn points, and the accumulation of 100 points will be able to revive the dead teammates, to bring Kato back to life. Kurono began a never-ending battle, thus 5 months have passed, and after numerous dangerous missions, his points have accumulated to 94 points. At the same time, his team is constantly adding new members. Because of the happy of the upcoming resurrection of Kato, he briefly returned to reality to adjust. He took out the long-prepared amusement park tickets. He was going to start a formal relationship with Takojima. However, just after they separated, the long-dead Kato strangely appeared before Kurono, but instead of answering his question, Kato tells Kurono that he wants to destroy the big black ball, then asked him if he had ever seen a black ball the size of a hand. After getting a negative answer, Kato looked indifferent and left directly, and sensing the anomaly, Kurono was called back to the Shinigami space. The first thing he did was check with the black ball to see if Kato had returned to life. But the strange thing is that Kato's photo is still on the death lease. Without time to think too much, Black Ball directly issued the mission this time. Their target is the black-clad alien shown on the screen. Then the Death Space team was transported to a subway. What made them feel wrong was that the mission space, which was empty in the past, was filled with countless ordinary people this time. But in the next second, the nightmare of these ordinary people came. The expressionless black-clad aliens were the first to spot the Death Space team. Under their indiscriminate attack, the subway car was instantly turned into a hell on Earth. Then a samurai sword appeared in the hands of the black-clad alien, but in the face of the increasingly powerful Kurono, he was stabbed to death. But the strange thing is that these people are like puppets without pain, and the careless Kurono was forced out of the window by him. When he used the pistol to solve him, he was also thrown out of the compartment by the impact of the bullet. When he fell, he suddenly saw Takojima's figure in the other compartment. Kurono then realized that this time, the mission space was the real world. He didn't have time to think too much. Worrying about Takojima's safety, he sprinted back into the carriage. At this time, the leader of the black-clad alien was still shooting ordinary people, and just as the gun in his hand was about to turn to Takojima, Kurono arrived in time to shatter his right hand. But the next second, his lost arm grew again. Kurono realized he had encountered a strong enemy. He drew his katana and rushed toward the leader. In the heat of battle, the two men split the subway car in two. Looking at the distance between them, Kurono immediately activated the berserk mode of the battle suit, then a run after a fierce rush toward the leader, suppressing him while decisively pulling the trigger. The moment the leader of the black-clad aliens turned into dust, the rest of his minions also fell to the ground simultaneously and died. After the mission was completed, everyone was transported back to the Reaper space, but the fierce battle before still cost them a member. Just then, several lasers shot out from the black ball. Everyone was surprised when they thought it was their teammates who were still alive. But when the teleportation was completed, they were disappointed to find a newcomer is a real-world Risa Sakano. But the strange thing is that as a newcomer, Risa Sakano directly recognized 3 of the Shinigami team. It turns out that she regained her memory after returning to the Shinigami space. 2 years ago, she and 3 other people were teammates of the Shinigami team. Points reached 100, and they chose to erase their memories and revive. But Risa Sakano suddenly received a shrunken version of the black ball not long ago. The black ball controlled her one by one to resummon the previous teammates back. Before you have a chance to ask Black Ball the purpose of doing this, Black Ball starts show scoring directly for them. Suzuki, the weakest strength in Death Space team, was surprised to find that he had reached the 100th percentile. Then the black ball gave him 2 options, but instead of choosing to regain his freedom, he decided to fulfill his initial promise to help Kurono bring Kato back to life. When the black ball showed the list of the dead, Risa Sakano was surprised to find that the Kato they wanted to revive was the man who had just shot her, and he also snatched the shrunken version of the black ball. Everyone began to suspect that the Kato outside may be an alien impersonation. To confirm this, Suzuki tried to determine the option of resurrecting Kato with the black ball. As expected, the real Kato was printed out the next second. The resurrected him also recalled his memories of being killed. Only then did they understand that the final boss was the one who had escaped before, the thousand-handed goddess. Then, to understand the anomaly of this mission, Kurono used his points to revive Nishi. After everyone told him about the recent events, the answer he gave once again sent the crowd into a panic. It turns out that the operation of the Black Sphere is driven by the energy of an inner sphere man. If the ball man dies, they will all perish along with the black ball. Black Ball realizes that his battery is running out, so he decides to gather the old team members to destroy the other aliens hiding on Earth in one fell swoop. At that moment, Black Ball once again summoned Task. Without giving everyone time to rest, a new urgent mission appeared. This time, however, the screen shows a picture of Teikojima. Risa Sakano recognized that Teikojima is the last mission target and the last key to enter the Shinigami space that the little black ball gave her before. She thought that if the fake Kato killed Teikojima first, he could use the little black ball to invade the Shinigami space. What surprised them even more was that they got 100 points for completing the kill, which meant that whoever achieved the kill would regain his life before the black ball's battery ran out. The originally harmonious team fell apart instantly in the temptation of freedom and life. In order to protect Teikojima, Kurono could only roar and let the black ball teleport him there in advance. But at the same time that he found Teikojima, the fake Kato rushed toward them with a weapon at this time. Seeing this, Kurono hurriedly led her to start the escape route. But the sad thing is that after getting rid of the fake Kato, they were surrounded by the rest of their teammates who came. Fortunately, Suzuki and non-mainstream brother by Kurono have been protected. They conscience timely turned the gun to cover the two once again escaped, but the non-mainstream boy was still killed by a precise shot by Nishi. However, the three exhausted people were once again blocked by the fake Kato on the roof of the building. Kurono immediately asked Suzuki to take Teikojima away to fulfill his promise to go to the amusement park with Teikojima. This time he had to do his best, but Kurono couldn't hold out for long against the fake Kato, who was carrying the hatred of all his people. Just a second before he was about to be pierced by a sharp blade, the real Kato arrived at the battlefield just in time. The first thing he did was to return to his home, but all he saw was his brother, who had been with him since childhood, being brutally killed by the imposter Kato. The grief felt that he vowed to avenge his brother's death, but the disparity in strength, he was soon pinned to the ground by the imposter himself. Recovered Kurono turned on the battlesuit berserk mode. With the cooperation of the two, they finally gained a slight upper hand. With an explosion, just when the two thought they had finally finished him off, the imposter Kato stood up unharmed. The two men, who had exhausted their cards, were utterly desperate, and eventually, Kato was pierced through the body by his sharp blade, and Kurono was also seriously injured. The fake Kato had already raised his gun, but at that moment, Teikojima, worried about Kurono, came running alone. The fake Kato saw this and immediately turned his gun. To save Teikojima, Kurono defended himself from the fatal blow. However, he was powerless, but he could only watch Teikojima being wounded by a knife. The next to come Nishi was also killed by the fake Kato slash. The badly wounded Teikojima struggled toward Kurono, and the imposter Kato kept waving her blade behind her. Finally, Teikojima took Kurono's hand with his last breath and slowly closed his eyes in his arms. Teikojima's death also meant the completion of the mission. The painful Kurono watched himself being transported and watched Teikojima disappear before his eyes. Powerless, he slapped the ground. The pain and helplessness inside, like a landslide, came like a tsunami. On the other hand, the imposter Kato took out the little black ball. When he saw that the mission was completed on the little black ball, he transformed into the appearance of Nishi, finally came to the dead space and then directly summoned all his men to this space. The final duel between the two sides officially began. The neat and empty room instantly turned into a human purgatory. At this time, Nishi took out a bottle of mysterious liquid directly toward the black ball sprinkled. In the instant of contact with the black ball, an explosion will completely shatter the entire space. A moment of dazzling light spread to the entire city. When the dust settled, the few survivors of the death squad crawled out of the rubble, but Kurono stood in front of the black ball, looking at the black ball on the screen to give him a choice. At this point, He finally understood everything. At that moment, Nishi came out unharmed. He questioned why they must kill each other, and why humans must take the initiative to start a war. As the people chosen by the Black Ball, they can only passively accept the task and complete the mission. Soon 2 teammates were killed one after another. Kurono could only helplessly raise the gun in his hand. Kato stepped in front of the gun just as he was about to shoot. Kato was tired of the never-ending fighting and killing and wanted to end this alien revenge war. But Kurono pulled the trigger anyway. The bullet passed through Kato and hit Nishi directly. He did not want to do so, but now he did not choose. The Black Ball as a normal human take Kojima as the mission's target, just because it wanted to keep her forever, for the sake of those teammates, for the sake of those innocent ordinary people who died, and to make the never-ending killing end completely. No choice but to let himself become the battery of the Black Ball. At the end of the story, he transported Kato back to the real world, revived all the people who died in the battle, and erased their memories of this period. Back in reality, Kato hugs his reborn brother tightly. Kojima also arrived at the amusement park alone, but she could no longer remember who gave her the tickets, until she saw the words suddenly appear on the Ferris wheel. She still couldn't remember who Kurono was, but she couldn't control the tears that were pouring out of her eyes. The whole world is once again full of energy and hope, and in the space of death, which is invisible to everyone, Kurono becomes a battery and resolutely locks himself in the Black Ball forever.